We're living in a world that is increasingly saying that we can have God in our lives, he just can't be our life. In 1925, Pope Pius XI instituted the Feast of Christ the King in response to a world that was increasingly pushing God to the fringe of our lives, a world that was saying, and is still saying today, that God can be part of our life, but he just can't be our life. Our lives have many important parts. There's family, there's friends, schooling, work, finances, health, and all sorts of important matters, and that need our personal attention daily for us to live. But if we make any of these things the center of our life and push God off to the side or out of our lives entirely, as the world would have us do, then our lives will become disordered. So the church in her wisdom has given us this feast, this great feast of Christ the King that comes at the end of the liturgical year. You might say that it's the crowning of the year, when we are invited to reaffirm in our lives that Jesus Christ is on the throne. He is the center of our lives. He is our King. And every aspect of our lives is intended to serve our King. And because he is a good King, when we make him the center of our lives, he orders everything else according to his will to fulfill our greatest needs and desires. It's that wonderful irony of Christianity that the more we lose ourselves in Christ, the more we will find ourselves. And the more we give over our lives to our King, the more meaning and happiness we will find as we humbly live out our day-to-day lives in the duty of the moment, seeking always to work to help build his kingdom, which he came over 2,000 years ago to establish. I also think that it's beautiful that we have the terminology of king in our relationship to God. We all know that a good king doesn't stay behind and send his army into battle, but a good king leads his army into battle. When we fall in behind our king, we're always going to be victorious. It's when we try to fight those battles on our own and fight off the enemies by ourselves that we can get lost in the battle and experience varying levels of defeat. But the good news is that we don't have to do this life on our own. He came as our King to lead us, and he's there to fight off the enemies of our soul and to open the pathways in our life to freedom and to establish in our lives his kingdom, where we are called to live both now and for all eternity in the life that he created us out of love for. The Feast of Christ the King is a good opportunity to review where our lives are at. Are we experiencing the life God created for us? Are we living as he intended? Most of us would have to admit that we're not quite there. And there are many aspects of our life that can take up our time and our attention, and some good and some not so good though. And all these things can hold our focus to the point where Jesus has just been pushed off to the side, and sadly, for some, out of our life completely. But if we want to experience the fullness of life that God intended for us, then Jesus and only Jesus belongs on the throne. So the question is, what are the things that we have placed on our throne of our hearts that have taken his rightful place? Is it a relationship that has become more important than God? Is it our careers, money, social status, the pursuit of pleasure? What are the things that we have allowed to clutter our heart and displace our King? As we celebrate the Feast of Christ the King this weekend, let's take some time to reflect on what we need to clear off the throne of our hearts to make room for him, our King. I'm Matthew Marcoux, and from all of us here at Pure Witness Ministries, God bless.